All right, so I'm Matt Brower, Chair of the State Committee, and we will go through the introduction of the voting members. Darren?
He may be joined, or I'm not sure if he's on, but maybe joining.
Okay. Scott is here, I know.
Scott Ryan, YACD, voting member.
And we said Megan is not on yet. Maureen?
Maureen Loophole, Monroe County Soil and Water, voting member.
Okay. All right, thank you, Maureen. And Bethany, I'll let you take over with others.
All right, we'll go through the room here first. I'm Bethany Bistu, Executive Director of the New York State Soil and Water Conservation Committee.
Good morning, Greg Albrecht, State Committee and Ag and Markets.
Morning, Dale Stein, retired voting member.
Good morning, EJ. I'm the Region 2 Regional Coordinator.
Hey everyone, Tyler Knapp, Watershed Programs Coordinator, State Committee.
And before I shift to a roll call of the folks on the line, I did see that Megan has joined us. Megan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning. Megan Hauser, voting member, calling from Western New York.
Nice. Good morning.
Right. One moment here.
It's in the hall. Oh, Commissioner's office.
Oh, I was here, that's not.
Hey Bethany, if you're saying something, we can't hear you now.
I'm not. I said one moment.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Because you're coming in a little faint, and I turned it up, and you were fine, but then everyone else is shouting us out of the room. But we'll figure it out on our end.
That's weird. Megan, are you on camera?
I am. Can you see me?
Oh, I can't, but I am sharing my screen. I just want to make sure when we get to the voting portion of it.
Yeah. And I would second what they were saying. You're a little bit faint, but others are a normal volume.
That's so weird. Okay.
Now you're better. Now you're better. Yes.
All right, so let's carry on. I'll do a roll call of the advisory members. Do we have someone from Ag and Markets? Oh, shoot, we already did.
I'll claim that role, Bethany.
All right. How about Cornell Cooperative Extension?
Good morning, Dan Welch, Executive Director, CC Cayuga, Advisory Designee for Cornell Cooperative Extension.
Good morning. Cornell Cales?
Jared's here.
Good morning. Anyone from CDEA today? I do know today is a second day of their regular meeting, so there was a bit of a conflict or a meeting overlap. How about DEC?
Tony Prestigiacomo, DEC Division of Water.
Good morning. Department of Health?
Morgan Tarbell, Department of Health. Good morning.
And Ryan Bell, Health Department.
Good morning. Department of State?
Pete Zimmer, Department of State.
Good morning. SUNY ESF?
Yep, Christine Georgia Kakos, SUNY ESF. I'm in the Environmental Resources Engineering Department.
Good morning. And do we have anyone from NRCS on the line today?
Chris Dietz here, Outreach Coordinator out of Syracuse.
Good morning, Chris. Thanks for joining. Glad to have you guys back in the office.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
I'm sure it is. Okay, we'll move on and do a roll call of the state committee staff. Victor DiGiacomo. Oh, he told me he wasn't gonna be here. PJ. Ben Luskin. Okay. Travis Ferry.
Travis Ray, Region 6 Coordinator, Associate Environmental Analyst.
Morning, Travis. Chastity Miller.
Cassidy Miller, I am the AEM base coordinator for the Soil and Water Committee.
Jason Kokinos.
Hi, Jason Kokinos here. I'm the program manager of the Ag Non-Point Source Program. State Committee.
Warren Przorski. Brendan Jordan.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Brendan Jordan, CNMP Specialist with the State Committee.
Good morning. Gideon Frisbee.
Good morning, everybody. Gideon Frisbee, CNMP Specialist with the State Committee.
Tim Clark.
Yeah, good morning, Tim Clark. I'm the engineer.
Tim Sheldon.
Yeah, good morning. Tim Sheldon, Climate Policy Program Analyst and CAFO EMP Manager for the committee.
Good morning. And Melissa Gordon.
Good morning. Administrative Assistant.
Good morning, Melissa. Have I missed any advisory members who may be joining on the line? Or did I miss any state committee staff? Perfect. I just want to extend a welcome to all of the Soil and Water Conservation District staff and board members who may be joining today, as well as any members from our partner agencies or members of the public. If you are on the line, please enter your name and your affiliation in the chat for our minutes. I think we're good with introductions, Matt.
Okay, then we will go to the review and approval of minutes. Is there any discussion or questions concerning the minutes? If not, a motion to approve.
And I second.
Okay, we will go to voting. I believe Darren is not on yet. Scott?
Aye.
Megan?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
And aye for me as well, so motion approved. Bethany, will go to the correspondence.
Correspondence, we have not received any formal letters for the state committee to react to for this month. But we have received a few different periodicals from Soil and Water Conservation Districts and the CDEA.
All righty. Program updates is next with Jason.
Okay. Before we move on, hearing a lot of feedback. I'm not sure if those online, could you just go ahead and mute yourselves?
Trying to address that, Brian.
Okay.
It's not
That could
fast
be
enough.
part of the IT issues too, so I'm just hopeful that it's just on our end, but.
I think we're good.
Go ahead, Jason.
Awesome. Yeah, no, good. Okay, so I'll give the Ag Non-Point Source Program update before we run into the amendments for Ag Non-Point Source. I wish there was more to update on movement on the program. However, round 30 is still being reviewed by the State Comptroller's Office. We last heard correspondence on them in early October. It's been about a month. So they're still reviewing it. Once that gets approved, it can get contracts approved by our council and signed by the awardees, and we can get the whole round into motion. But we have no movement on that so far. When that is finally put into motion, we will then pivot towards round 31. We're still anticipating releasing that in early calendar year of 2026. But the sequence of events, we're still waiting on approval on round 30 before we can go to round 31. Previous rounds, also it's been pretty quiet on submissions. I update this table as we get closeouts finally approved. And this month, it was just in the Ag Non-Point Source program, 2 round 27s closed, moved from active to completed. So I updated our dashboard on there. And I think the only major update is all active rounds pie chart on the bottom left. I tried to throw in so we get an idea of what's active, what's current, what's canceled. And we'll go that. So not too much movement, but I'm here for questions on the program in general as needed.
And amendments, I guess, is the next.
Got it.
Didn't even open it.
Okay, I'll run through our amendments.
Get up
this
for
month.
you, Jason.
Oh, sure.
There you go.
Great. So 2 time extension requests this month. There were no staff approved amendments. Both districts are seeking 2 extensions on round 28 projects. First one we'll go over is Region 1, Chautauqua County Soil and Water, seeking an extension on the Broken Straw Creek Water Quality Improvement Project. This is a waste storage project, a single farm waste storage facility project that is underway, but was delayed due to challenges with permitting, design coordination with partner agencies, and farm financial issues in the current economy. They are underway currently with design, permitting, and archaeology completed. They've just run out of time in the construction season. However, they anticipate starting in summer of 2026. So they were seeking an extension to the first of the calendar year, 2027, to complete construction through next year and reporting requirements. There's been no previous amendments. This was brought to us by Victor Giacomo, Region 1 AEA, who supports the request.
Victor, do you know, just curious, since we've been having some good ongoing discussions with DEC over the wetlands issues and these types of things, do you know what the issue is there, what the challenges are with the wetland permitting?
Unfortunately, Victor is not on with us today. I think he's attending a district board meeting in one of his counties. We can follow up with him if you want before moving this forward.
Yeah, I'd just be curious to know, if it's something similar to what we've already been discussing, or if it's a new issue that, that we need to bring to the table. So if we could just find out what the challenges are with that.
Matt, are you saying you want to delay making a decision, or you just want to understand?
No. I don't want to delay a vote on the amendment, but it will be good information to have at some point, just to see if we have something new we need to bring to the table. So, is there any other questions or discussions concerning that amendment? If not, motion to approve.
I make motion.
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, and we will vote on it. Darren, if you're on. Scott.
Aye.
Megan.
Aye.
Maureen.
Aye.
An aye for me as well. So the motion is approved. We'll go to the next amendment.
Going to move to Region 2. So this is Ontario County Soil and Water, round 28, the Jamins Farm Waste Storage Project. Very similar. This is a waste storage project on a single farm, CAFO farm in the Finger Lakes watershed. They have completed the waste storage portion of it, but they're continuing on the transfer portion. The district provided a good write-up in the materials that I included. It was an email back and forth between us. So thank you for getting that on the district's end. The reported delays were contractor scheduling challenges, weather constraints, and a backlog of engineers and technical services. They just need one more year to complete the waste transfer and finalize contract reporting. No other previous amendments, and brought to us and approved by PJ Emmerich, Region 2 and ADA.
Any questions or discussion on that amendment?
The only thing I would wonder, Matt, and this is a larger question than just this approval, but we all know there's a backup in agricultural and engineering construction services. Just because there's not enough people to do that. Does that need to figure into the amount of time we're allowing these projects to have, or is it more appropriate to keep the same timeline and just do amendments as they come up? Just wondering about, again, a longer question than just this, but.
Yeah, I think that's a good question, and that is a problem we have been discussing quite a lot. And you know, I'm hoping that somewhere along the way we can come up with some solutions to that problem with the engineering. But that's a good question as far as, you know, the time allotment and whether we build more time in initially, or just deal with it with amendments. And I guess I'll ask if anybody else has any thoughts on that.
PJ, you're in the room there. They're asking for 6 months rather than a year. Is that enough time?
The district claims that should be a sufficient time to get the remaining portion completed.
Transfer.
Just a transfer, yep.
Yeah.
And I will just add that we have, for the past, I guess, several rounds now, moved towards initiating contracts with a longer term right from the get-go. And the hope was that that would help to avoid so many time extensions, because we were seeing quite a lot. So I don't know, I guess maybe it's been 3 rounds or 2 or 3 rounds.
Yep.
Where the contracts, right from the start, have a 5-year length, which is the maximum that they'll let you go with an initial contract.
Right.
I don't know, we'd have to probably do some negotiating with the comptroller's office to have a longer initial contract term, to see if they would even allow that. But the hope is that by giving 5 years right up front, that will build in enough time to get these projects done without having to do extensions. And it looks like this one, round 28, it kind of got caught in that transition period. So maybe the first contract time period was just shy of 5 years. So.
Yeah, I guess
You know,
it's a little early to tell whether
Yeah.
that time extension is gonna solve the problem or not, or at least cut down on the problem. So that's good to know.
It's a really good question, and that was with Agnon Point Source, and that's solidly 5 years now in the RFPs. And CRF had to adapt and be down to 4 years for a couple rounds because of the USDA funding. We were trying to plumb through that, and it's expedited timeline. We're in the clear from that. And so for CRF 10, we'll align that with Agnon Point Source and make it a 5-year contract term right in the RFP as well. And I wonder also if something that's to the positive to help projects move along is the extra capacity that we have in our council office now, that's able to review and execute contracts through the statewide system in a quicker manner. I know that, the contract start date is before you get the executed contract, but there's that real element of having an executed contract in hand to really start the project that has an effect. And they're moving quicker now. For sure.
Also in the chat, Megan Webster mentioned construction is planned for December. This amendment gives us a buffer if construction takes a little longer than anticipated.
Thank you, Chaz, and thank you, Megan.
Yeah, those comments are all very helpful. Being relatively new to the board, getting an understanding of how that has been going, and just looking at that regular graph that Jason provides. Just wanted to understand where things stood, and that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just, Megan, I'm hoping that somehow, some way along the way, we can come up with some solutions to that engineering problem, because that's been there for a long time. And, it's just, we had discussions in the past about working with some of the different universities with engineering programs to try to come up with students who are interested in ag engineering or the types of projects we're dealing with. And, hopefully they start to take interest in it. I don't know if there's a way even maybe to start working on it a little before that, like with the FFAs and starting to make some of the high school kids aware of that career and what's involved, to see if they would be interested. But I think it's something that still needs work.
Yes, and maybe it's worth, you may know the statistic too, is how many contracts actually get extended. I mean, if it's a small percentage and people are able to deal with it with the new timeline. But if it's a larger percentage, that would point to more of a problem too. And again, with the relative inexperience on the committee, those are things I don't know the answer to. So thank you.
Yeah, and I think just based on my, reading of some of these over the past couple of years, it does seem like it comes up a little more often than I would like, but it's not, the only reason for delays, but it certainly is one of the more common ones, I guess.
May I take a moment to add a point?
Please.
This is Megan Webster from Ontario County Soil and Water. So this is, I wrote in the chat about construction. One of the issues is not just engineering, it's the actual contractual work as well. So for projects, when we're balancing concrete work, site work, the building itself, and then the equipment, it is very difficult to coordinate all of that. And sometimes it does extend the project lifespan longer than we anticipate. And those things really just come up at the end of a contract. And really, it just means that the extensions are necessary. So even though we do have that longer contract period, which is very helpful and wasn't applicable to this round, but is for further, which is much appreciated, the actual contractual work can sometimes just require those extensions because of those many moving parts. So thank you very much.
Could I add something? We are seeing in construction massive delays in the availability of getting large amounts of concrete. 30 days, 60 days, planning ahead of time, trying to get concrete. I don't know if it's just that much more construction going on statewide or what, but I've never ran into that in past years, but this year was a real huge issue.
Do you know, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Do you know, I know in our area, one of the delays is drivers. They can't get truck drivers. Do you know if that's what the issue is there, or is it just more of a demand?
No, I think it's just so much demand for concrete. The plant's running up all hours and they just can't meet the demand in Western New York where we are.
Yeah.
It's just for large amounts. Small amounts, it would be different, but most of your farm jobs are going to be larger amounts, I would think.
Right,
And,
right, yeah.
We had to plan out minimum 30 days reserve time ahead of a time with a concrete company to get it. And didn't know that until we went and called them. We were ready to pour and, oh no, maybe next month.
Yeah, that's not a good time to find out.
No.
I have a question. This is Maureen. Have the programs where ag engineers would be produced, taught, have they been approached with the level of the problems that seem to be happening all around the state?
I think there's
off and on over the last 15 years, we've had conversations with the SWCC schools and ESF. It's, yeah, there's a lot of issues that we don't need to get into right now, but it's an ongoing problem. There's not an easy fix. That's why we're at where we're at.
But there's been discussions anyways.
Yeah, yeah, over many years, yep. Yep.
Well,
Good question,
maybe
thanks.
Tim, we are a little ahead of schedule, so I mean, I think it would be okay if you got into just a little bit of what some of those issues are to help the voting members better understand.
To me, the biggest issue is that there's not enough work for new entrants to come into the market. So we've already got engineering firms across the state. They're keeping up with most of the demand, especially for the grant programs. So like for a new company to start up or a multidisciplinary to enter the market, it's just like not a sure steady flow of work. Like there's just not as much billable hours as are guaranteed in other sectors of the economy, like highway design or civil site. There's just many more millions of dollars of billable fees in those sectors, whereas agriculture is kind of, you know, it's already taken care of with these like mom and pop firms across the state. So it's hard to encourage anybody to enter into it without that sure revenue.
So to us, like it's a big workload, but to these larger firms, it's really not.
It's not really, yeah.
But they're doing other work besides them, aren't they?
Who were doing other work?
The engineers. I mean, they're not just doing soil and water district engineering. They're
Actually
doing other contracting
firms
or
that you're
not.
talking about, Tim.
The ag engineers in the state right now, the smaller firms,
Yeah, the private.
they're doing mostly ag work.
Is it mostly?
Yeah, yep. That's some streams.
Conservation work.
Yeah, conservation related work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the program, and I really don't know that much about this, but is it that specialized to have the ability to work in agriculture compared to, you know, other engineering projects?
Yes, yeah, it's very specialized. Yep.
Can I jump in? I'm Christine Georgakakos from ESF. I teach an ag engineering class that's definitely relevant here. I think the perspective that I want to share is that like we definitely have a lot of students really jazzed about bringing engineering knowledge into the ag sector. But what they're looking for, and maybe that would prepare them better, is like those interim opportunities. Like, can they get involved before they're ready to get a job? Are there like an internship or volunteer or like even just a class collaboration style thing to like really help build that specialization that you all are looking for from the undergrad or grad level up? I guess that's a big question we've been pushing around too, is what are you all looking for? And this might be a conversation for offline, but like, what are you all looking for that we can help prepare those students for, to try to help some of those like bottlenecks and things like that?
Yeah, and Pro Dairy has a good internship function going on right now for engineers and planners. That's a great opportunity for students that are interested in the field. Yeah.
I think that would be a good discussion to have though in the future because, you know, I would think might be districts that would be interested in doing some type of internship program with SUNY and, or just hiring some summer help maybe, possibly. So probably would be a good discussion to have in the future, I would think.
I definitely direct a lot of students that are excited about this to just like reach out to the engineers that are associated with districts and just like have a conversation and stuff like that. But it might be more efficient if we sort of thought through like what are you all looking for so that those conversations are productive instead of just like informational meetings with our students.
Christina, are there opportunities to, you know, guest lecture in any of your classes? Are they like highly technical, or would you have like room in your syllabus to talk about like what are those opportunities out there? Talk about programs, talk about district services.
Yeah,
But,
there's absolutely room in the program. The class that I offer is pretty interdisciplinary, and we bring in speakers from sort of all over the place. So, if somebody's excited about that, then yeah, definitely looking to bring folks in and have those conversations.
fall semester is wrapping up, but spring semester, maybe?
Oh, the class is only offered in the fall, so maybe like next fall we could think about like what
Oh,
that
yeah.
looks like.
Absolutely.
But I'll say like if there was excitement about this, we could always just create like a one-off seminar or something like that, to sort of start the ball rolling and then keep going from there.
Those are great ideas.
Yeah. I'll speak on behalf of our team and that of the conservation districts, but I am certain that we would jump at that opportunity.
Yeah,
So,
let's definitely keep the conversation going with that.
So Greg and I had the same thought at the same time. I'd like to pull together, I think, a group of folks to keep talking about this. So be on the lookout for an email from me and we can find a time to chat.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
You might be able to reach out to some of the private engineering firms that a lot of us are using to see if they would mentor even some of the students, to give them an idea where they'd be right out on the farm with that engineer. Give them on-site education on what they do.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And that is exactly what Tim Clark mentioned about the Pro Dairy Engineering Internship. That's internship opportunity. It's through funded by DEC. That's good opportunities there.
Yep.
Thank you. This was a great conversation.
All this from a time extension. Look at us.
Which you guys?
Yeah, before we move on, we need a vote on that.
I couldn't remember whether we voted or not. Did we get a motion? Did we have a motion, Bethany?
No, we
Okay.
did not.
I'll make
Okay.
that motion. It's Maureen.
Okay, a second.
I'll second that motion.
We've never done this. Can we maybe recommend a longer extension than just till June? Considering like this past season, May and June was fairly wet in this part of the area.
Megan's
This mentioned construction season, so cutting off in June, it seems early.
Yeah, that might be iffy.
Megan's on the line. I don't know.
So the plan is for construction in December, and we're meeting for a pre-construction meeting this afternoon. So I think that we're fine to move forward and we should be able to finish this project by the spring. I
Okay.
appreciate the additional time, but I don't believe it will be required.
But just for, I guess, procedural, could we, grant a longer extension than requested, Bethany, if we felt it might be worthwhile on other projects?
Yes, I believe that's in the voting members' latitude. Of course,
Okay.
we would, I think, just like we did with Megan here from Ontario, would like the feedback of the district. Could go the other way as well, like if a district was proposing a very long extension and the voting members thought that that wasn't appropriate, you could do that as well, but yeah, that's in your purview, I guess.
Okay, good. That's good to know for the future. All right, so did we get a second?
Yes.
Megan
Okay,
seconded, yes.
I thought so, but I wanted to be sure. All right, I don't believe Darren's on yet. Scott?
Aye.
Megan?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
An aye for me as well, so that extension is approved. And we are on to the climate resilient farming program. There are no amendments there. Is Jennifer? Okay. Somebody's
She
doing it.
is not, but Greg is going to deliver the report on her behalf.
Okay.
So, here we are.
Thank you, Bethany. Yeah, Jennifer sends her regards. She is under the weather today, so I'm going to try to pinch hit. Like Matt said, no amendments today, so maybe that won't have such thought-provoking discussion. That was great. So CRF, just to calibrate, right, has several missions across our environmental resources, reduce greenhouse gas emissions on farm, increase carbon sequestration in ag, and help farmers prepare overall for a changing climate. And to do that, you go to the next slide, please.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. Multitasking. We found it over the years to design the program and its RFPs into tracks. So similar is competing against similar, given the broad array of practice systems that chase after those environmental goals. So track 1 is all about livestock management and manure management, precision feed. Track 2 is adaptation and resiliency in many forms, with a fair focus on how water is managed in our landscapes for quantity, for soil erosion elements, for nutrient loss and things like that, flooding, drought. Track 3 is all about soil health, so that subset of our BMP systems. And track 4, it was new in CRF round 8 and repeated here again in CRF 9. And that's about ag forest management. And that could be a wide range of things. There's a focus in it on tree planting projects, but it could also include other more classic silvicultural practices in existing forest lands on farms. Next slide, please. I guess I should have said this on the prior one, but for CRF 9, which just had milestone last night, the RFP closed at 5 p.m. There was 24 million available for awards, and that's broken into 10 million for track 1, 4 million for track 2, 8 million for track 3, and 2 million for track 4. We're still working on the tally. Appreciate in the first bit of work here, Jennifer and Tim Sheldon's help in organizing those applications from districts. There are many, which has been the response we've received for CRF since its inception, and similarly for Ag Non-Point Source. So thank you, districts, and thank you, farmers. The steps ahead are staff internally conducting completeness and eligibility reviews, and then while doing that, reaching out to reviewers to do some pre-review training and sending applications to those review teams from the state committees, advisory members in December. The goal with this timeline is to have a ranked list for the state committee to consider in February of 2026, so we can announce awards in March of 2026. And we'll certainly keep you apprised of our progress. It's no small amount of effort and work by staff and the advisory committee reviewers of the state committee to accomplish that, but we're going to work hard to do it. Next slide, please. Here's a bit of a dashboard on progress over time. And since the last meeting there, you can see we're almost entirely closed out of CRF round 4. I'm good. Thank you. I appreciate that. And getting awfully close on CRF round 5. So great work, districts, regional coordinators who do lots of heavy lifting in that. And then Jennifer as the program manager there. And I guess maybe another look at this through different lenses every month. Another thing to look at is to just stand back and check out that funds awarded column. That is driven by the funds that are available in the RFP, because we always exceed what's available. And that's a really awesome curve, and we hope we're able to continue that. There you go. Question.
I have a question. How do you exceed what's available? Where does that money come from?
Oh yeah. Let me say that much better. We receive far more applications for funding than we have funds to award. So there's something like 50 or 60% of, is that fair to say, I think, of the application budgets for state funding that we receive, like in a round like this, we're not able to award because we have, that limited amount, albeit, larger than we've ever had, right? But
But we are also able to use funds that are returned. So sometimes when projects are complete and they're completed under budget, or if they get canceled, those funds that were awarded get returned to the, essentially the program bank account. And we have access to use those returned funds to be able to award a little bit further down the list past what was made available in the RFP.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, if it's available, we try to use them.
It's a modest amount relative to the total program offering, but it can be very meaningful. And we're fortunate that that doesn't get returned to a general fund, right? It gets repurposed right back into the program that it was allocated for.
Yeah, that's wonderful, because my guess would have been that it goes back to the general fund. In that case, are you typically, and I don't know how common that is, but in that case, are you typically awarding additional funds to someone that has been funded to make their funding more complete, or is it potentially to a new person that was qualified but did not receive funds?
We would work our way down the ranked list in some cases to break a tie and fund all the projects that were in a tie, or make that project that was on the cusp and partially funded fully funded. And those decisions are made and proposed with staff and the state committee.
Yeah, Megan, also to further answer that, we don't add funds to existing contracts. Those are locked in at what was proposed, both in the amount and also the percentage that is being funded for the total project cost.
Okay, thanks for that clarification and explanation.
Great questions.
Any other questions or discussion on CRF funding? All right, thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Well, Dale, we finally made it. We've been trying to work things out where we could recognize you for your service to the state committee over the years, and we finally have got there. Dale was on the state committee for 20 years, 10 years as the chair. And I know I was thinking a while back there that I couldn't remember a time hardly when Dale wasn't on the state committee, and I guess that makes sense if it's been 20 years. I think your contribution, if you look at where the state committee and the districts have gone over the past 20 years, I think probably you've been a big part of helping that movement and the expansion of the state committee and the district programs and funding and so on. So, I know I certainly appreciate everything you've done over the years and your time. And I think that's quite a commitment. I don't know that there's too many people that serve that many years on a board or a committee. Most people, it's a few years, and then they decide that they're got other things to do. So thank you. And I know Bethany and Brian both have some comments they want to add to that. So Brian, I think you were next.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Matt, and thanks, Bethany, for giving me the opportunity as well. And Dale, I wish I was there in person with you right now, but I need to help this guy out next to me and make sure things are running okay here in the Orchard Room while Bethany's got command center there in Syracuse. But with that said, I just want to say it's been an absolute privilege to know Dale, to work with him, to call him a friend and mentor for over 20 years. I've been here for 24 years, so just like Matt had mentioned, I don't really remember a time where I haven't had the opportunity to work with Dale throughout my entire career thus far. As a committee member, you've overseen, and provided direction for and approval of so many new and expanding programs. The AIM-based program, for example, didn't exist, Dale, before we came on board. District aid and the increases that we've been able to receive and the change to the whole structure of that program, and of course, climate resilient farming. You know, as a chair for 10 years, you've expertly led the work of the committee. This represents about 100 meetings, the release of hundreds of millions of dollars in funding to support districts and conservation projects, thousands of hours in prep and support in that role, no doubt, many hours on the phone with me and on the phone with Bethany prior to state committee meetings. As a farmer, you know, you walk the walk in every way, you know, in support of conservation and the work that districts do, the work that farmers do day in and day out. And as a friend, you know, you've always been there for me, both professionally throughout my career and certainly personally as well, through all triumphs and challenges. And I think it's fair to say that you're one of those people that, you know, you just be so thankful for being in our lives. And with that, I just thank you for all of your leadership and support throughout the years. Most importantly, thank you for your friendship. With that being said, hopefully many opportunities to continue to learn from you and to be in your presence, not just over the WebEx, but in person. So I look forward to those opportunities in the future as well. But thank you, Dale, for everything you've done for the committee.
Thank you, Brian. I think before Bethany says anything, I want to, Soil and Water has always been talked about as a family. And that is really, to me, the driver, why I stayed 20 years. The close friendships, you and so many others, everyone in this room here. I served on a lot of different organizations and committees in my life. Nothing is as close as Soil and Water. And I really appreciate everything all of you have helped me with all these years.
Well, Dale, like Matt said, this it has been a long time coming, and I'm really glad that you made the trip out to Syracuse today and we could make this happen. So what I wanted to share is I have a letter here from Commissioner Ball to you that I want to read out for everyone. And we also got you a little something to commemorate your years of service. You can display this on your mantle or maybe take it with you to Florida and put it on your boat, whatever you want. But so the letter from Commissioner Ball reads, Dear Mr. Stein, on behalf of the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets, I thank you for your 20 years of service to the New York State Soil and Water Conservation Committee as voting member and chairperson. During your tenure, your exemplary dedication and commitment to the mission of the Soil and Water Conservation Committee made a lasting impact. Your leadership resulted in the development of programs and policies that support the diverse needs of soil and water conservation districts and the advancement of comprehensive natural resources management statewide. During this time, programs such as the Agricultural Environmental Management Program and the Agricultural Non-Point Source Pollution Abatement and Control Program expanded to offer additional technical and funding resources to farms across the state. In addition, with you at the helm, the State Soil and Water Conservation Committee was also successful in developing the Climate Resilient Farming Program that provides an opportunity for farms to proactively make management changes that will reduce greenhouse gas emissions and build resiliency and preparedness in the face of climate change. You are an outstanding representative for the agricultural industry as you are active in agricultural production, knowledgeable about your trade, and motivated to leave a lasting positive impact on New York State's natural resources. I am grateful to you for your leadership and support of New York State agriculture and all you have done to help protect the state's natural resources. Sincerely, Richard A. Ball, Commissioner.
Thank you.
So I'll give you this box, but in addition to this letter written by the commissioner, I don't know which way you want to go. I'll present you with this commemorative, not sure what to call this, but it's recognized for 20 years of service. And it says, Dale P. Stein, for your dedicated service to the New York State Soil and Water Conservation Committee. Thank you. So I'll hand it
You should have had a compass for that. Thank you again, everyone. I greatly appreciate it.
I guess with that, is there anyone else on the line that would like to share a few words for Dale?
Just very pleased to see a person that deserves the recognition getting it. So well done, Dale.
Shannon's coming in saying congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yes.
Nice.
Dale, when
You know-
you head down south?
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask when you're heading down south.
I've been down twice already to Florida, just to fish. Since I'm
Given
retired.
the way the weather's been lately, you better get there
We
soon.
go down Christmas Day and come back in April. But we've gone, my daughter and I flew to my house and then we drove to Isla Morada fishing for a week out in the Keys and had phenomenal mahi-mahi fishing. We brought 50 pounds of mahi-mahi fillets home with us. Wonderful. Had a great trip. So I'm enjoying life.
As you
That's what it
should.
be.
You deserve it.
I was thinking about your tenure here and your leadership and when we first started talking about things and working, there was a lot of talk about nutrient management and manure and crops and farmstead and CAFO permit issues and things like that. But then as those conversations developed and we got into side conversations, you realize all of the active management that you and your family have done across all of your landscape, right? So wildlife management, tree planting, active forest management, all the stuff in the crop fields and the farmsteads, right? But then plus soil health, greenhouse gas mitigation work, energy work, all while maintaining a profitable farm and, employing, a healthy, compensated staff in upstate New York. And that, really provided, I know Brian said it, walking the talk, an awesome example of farmers can do this as we tinkered with our programs and trying to make them yet more and more comprehensive and have more opportunities across all the resources that farmers manage. So it's just really awesome for districts, for us and the state committee staff and ag and markets, and for farmers to have a person with your actual experience, also lending a significant hand with the state committee. So thank you.
We were lucky enough to have a large enough family that we could specialize.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave us the opportunity to play with things we wanted to try doing. And a lot of them, in my case, were environmental side. And my brother Ray, very much in the engineering side of building all these things. And our farm's a lot better because of it. So, but we couldn't have done it without soil and water, not a bit of it. We needed soil and water to help on all of it. So you all appreciate my help, but you can't understand how much I appreciate your help and all you've done for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know PJ was showing you, but there are a number of congratulations and best wishes in the chat for you, Dale.
Thank you, everyone.
Alrighty, with that, I guess we're gonna go to the reports from everyone. We'll start with the voting members, and I don't have anything to report. So, Scott?
Thanks for getting legislative days going soon, so, can't remember the date off. We paired in with Farm Bureau, of course, we attended the Taste of New York.
Okay, Megan?
Hey, real quick, Megan, before you go, Scott, do you have the dates for those?
I can't recall offhand what date it is.
I do. Just give me a second. I'll get them for you. Hang on.
2 through 4, maybe. That rings a bell.
If you just put them in the chat, or the chat, that would be fantastic.
Sure will.
Go ahead, Megan,
Chaz.
sorry to interrupt.
Tongue twister.
So just, it's great to hear Dale make those comments. And I think that's so true for the farming community. Being able to work together with the Soil and Water Board just makes everything work. But otherwise, no further comments.
All right, thank you. Maureen?
November 3rd, I attended one of the Great Lakes Action Agenda meetings, which gave different stakeholders a chance to share what is happening around, I guess it's the Southwest group that I'm in with. And we had some brainstorming on their action agenda and talked about the grant programs that they have as well. So that was very informative. And that's about it.
All right, thank you. Bethany, I guess I'll have you go through the rest of the folks.
All right, thank you, Matt. Let's start with folks in Albany and then come to Syracuse and then we'll go around online. So Brian, do you have a report for today?
Oh, yeah, just really briefly, wanted to mention that we continue to work on the staffing plan for the state committee and the division as a whole. And we recently put in 2 requests for backfilling positions. One to backfill position that Tyler had vacated a few months back to really help us in everything related to data management and modeling to showcase our benefits programs. So stay tuned. Hopefully by the next meeting, I'll have more to come on that one. Also asking for another position, as Bethany mentioned, both in meetings and in writing, that we're continuing to work towards the filling of a district aid position that will also focus on outreach and operations. So I'm hopeful that we'll get that moving in the near future as well. And I also want to say that I know we talked a little bit about workforce development, and I think that's been a theme in a lot of different discussions that we have, whether it's time extensions or very purposeful discussions. And just this past Friday, the state officers of FFA were in the building, and they participated in a directors meeting where they got to learn about every division within the department. We got to learn a lot about them as well and what their aspirations are. And then Land Water Resources was selected to actually further mentor an individual for another part of the day. So we were able to talk with a state officer. I want to thank Bethany and Greg, Jason Coquinos and Jeff Kehoe, Victor DiGiacomo as well, for both being remote and in person to really talk to this individual about the work that we do, and a real level of excitement. Wants to go into environmental sciences and the environmental side of agriculture in college. So I left that day with just this feeling of the tank is full and the future is bright. So every opportunity we have to engage with young leaders in the agricultural environmental space, I think we should take it. So with that, I think those are the highlights, Bethany.
Thank you, Brian. Jason, I think you're next in the room.
Nothing beyond my normal update. Thanks for the time today.
Tim Sheldon?
Nothing to report.
And Tim Clark.
Yeah, we did have our CDA regional training November 10th. That was a follow-up to like official correspondence to CDA sent to the state committee requesting some regional training. We talked a long time for various topics, kind of settled on a couple ideas. One to have a basic surveying regional field course in Scott's region in spring or maybe early summer. See how well that's attended, see what the demand is for it. And also we settled on expanding the online on-demand training and doing a basic soils online on-demand training. Those are the 2 things that stuck out for me. They're not gonna be done super soon, but we plan to meet again in January to, keep the ball rolling. We had a great turnout. There were like 12 or 13 people total in person on the call, so it's all good. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Tim. We'll go around the room here. I attended a day one of the CDEA meeting yesterday, out in a really awesome location in Delhi Falls. So it's, I think, just south of Casanova. It was really, really beautiful. And just a really nice meeting, an opportunity to connect with our partners. Tomorrow, we have a second follow-up meeting with the group that I've been participating with through the National Association of State Conservation Agencies to talk more about the training materials that are available for district officials. So for that meeting, we're going to be presenting just our thoughts and ideas from New York and continuing that discussion with folks across the country. But I also see that as a great opportunity for us in New York to assess our training modules that we have available for district officials and update the ones we have, give them a nice refresh, but also start brainstorming on some additional ideas that for new trainings that we could provide district officials. That is it for me.
Awesome. Thanks, Bethany. I think, Matt, I'll just focus for my report on the wetlands piece, and then I know there's a lot of the good updates coming from staff, so feel free to layer in. Like Matt said earlier, we've been continuing to meet with kind of an ad hoc work group of 3 soil and water districts, Amanda Barber from Cortland, Joe Chevroletti from Oswego, and John Persh from Fulton, state committee staff, Matt Brower's on, some partners engaged with us and ag conservation from ProDairy, and a few folks from DEC, including their wetlands staff, to help sort out mostly ag, but that extends into tangential areas that soil and water districts and private sector planners and farmers embark on, with the updates to jurisdictional determination definitions of what a wetland is from DEC and what that means for permitting. A couple state committees, we shared our list of notes. Oh, and NRCS as well. I apologize. They've been extremely helpful in layering in excellent questions as well. We've had our second meeting with them. We're getting a much better sense of what's exempt and what's non-exempt, and that reaches back to the original freshwater wetlands law from the 1970s in New York. DEC is getting the clear message about the timing issues of processing jurisdictional determination requests and then where necessary permits. They are working on an improved map tool to help us draw in a unique parcel polygon rather than just snapping to the tax parcel unit there and its proximity to wetlands. We think we have some clarity on the CAFO question, which is what's the water of the state with these new wetlands, and because that relates to not wetland regs, but requirements in the CAFO permit. So that's a step forward. There has been talk, we're definitely fair to say, right, and with NRCS's help as well, bridging understanding of what the projects we're actually embarking on in this sector of ours, and those are conservation practices. So they are addressing an environmental resource concern on the land and leaving it better. So that's gotten some intrigue on, well, could there be some streamlining there and maybe a general permit for conservation practices or something like that. That's been a topic that seems to be of interest and has led to more questions. In fact, I'm meeting with DEC in a small group on Thursday to sort of walk through, our E&P systems and what they look like. I won't go too far into this, but I know Region 7 and Region 8 have been having productive, constructive discussions about, hey, how can we release some of these bottlenecks with directly with the soil and water districts in those regions, and happy that those are continuing. And at least one outcome here is that we've got good collaboration from the DEC wetland staff and their central office to help us with some trainings, and they're going to do kind of a 101. This might be brand new awareness for some in this audience at the Certified Crop Advisor training in early December, and then a more involved follow-up class about the whole topic at the Water Quality Symposium in mid-March as a follow-up to their kind of intro last March. And Krista Spohr, their main outreach staff person, said, hey, if there are like little modules that would lead up and help us have more time to discuss during the Water Quality Symposium, perhaps we should fire up some webinars and cover those topics that way early winter. So good movement. I would no sort of comprehensive solutions for timing issues, but we're talking, and I guess I put that out there to keep talking in your channels as well with either regional DEC or the central office folks, and maybe some creative solutions can work in between the sort of rigid constructs of the regulation. I will keep it at that because I know there's good stuff coming as we go down the list.
Thank you, Greg. Dale?
Yeah, it's, I was contacted 3 weeks ago by Angela Mitchum from California, and we've worked together in the past. She was wondering if my brother Ray and I would be on a Zoom meeting with Washington State producers on covers and flares and our experience with them. Apparently, Washington State is putting out a $2 million cost share grant this year for covers and flares. But there is no mechanism in Washington State to help the producers do them. They're putting money out, but there's no help there to help them engineer it or design it or even figure out what to do. They only have 2 soil and water staff people in the whole state who are even interested in trying to learn. And it reinforces my belief that we in New York are light years ahead of the rest of the country on all of these programs. We've been doing covers and flares for about 10 years. There are other states just beginning that I thought were active states. I'm trying to figure out how to do it. And it's, I gave them forwarded Bethany's contact information so they could maybe email her and she could explain what our cost share program works like, but I don't know if they did, but they're just scratching their heads on how to even utilize the $2 million. It's just baffling me that this technology is not new, and why would the state not fund something without a way to get it out to the farmers? So it just reinforces my belief soil and water is, we are lucky in New York. We are lucky.
Thank you. They haven't contacted me yet, but I hope they do.
Yeah, it's,
PJ?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, pretty much typical business here in Region 2. I've been doing some AIM 18 Tier 4 closeouts recently, and just wanted to take a quick second here and just say thank you to a few of the technicians in my region. A lot of the senior technicians have offered to help some of the newer technicians just do some training in the field and on a whole bunch of different things. And I just am so proud of that and just wanted to say thank you to many of those technicians. And most recently, I know Tom was helping one of the newer technicians, and so is Chris Creelman. Tucker's been doing some work in the past, and just wanted to thank all of the senior techs for helping the new techs in my region. I really appreciate it. If there's anything I can do to help you as you all train the newer folks, let me know. I'm happy to help any way I can. So thank you. I've been doing a few Ag Non-Point and CRF closeouts as well, working with some of the newer techs, and those have been going well. I enjoy the opportunity to sort of teach them what I know a little bit about the grants. So thank you for taking the time to do that. Board meetings are coming up. I've got a board meeting with one of my new counties coming up here tomorrow. So excited about that. And then probably the best news that we had while we were driving up here, at least while I was driving up here, is that Eastern Finger Lakes BMP implementation contract was executed. So just wanted to thank Greg and Bethany and Tyler and Tony and Gabriel and everybody and Brian for doing so much work to make that happen. That's a huge effort. It's uncharted territory for all of us. And this is just an exciting opportunity for all the soil and water districts here in the Eastern Finger Lakes region. And it's going to be a tremendous model for others, I think, down the road. And thank you to Tyler for all his efforts on the data collection piece for the capacity and the implementation. I can't imagine the work that you've been doing. So thank you.
Slow and steady.
It's right back at you, PJ.
Oh, thank you.
Great work.
Thank you. And that's all I have, Bethany. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Tyler?
So first, this is probably my first meeting back since parental leave, so I feel very much obligated just to say thank you to all of my colleagues and coworkers for covering while I was out. It was a pretty great opportunity to be home for that amount of time and just super grateful for that. So really appreciate everybody's help through the last couple of months, especially PJ for all of the work continuing on the Eastern Finger Lakes Coalition. And yes, very exciting news on the Eastern Finger Lakes front. On my end, probably still playing catch up in some fashion. A lot of coalition work going on, scope of work meetings, lots of movements outside of the Eastern Finger Lakes across a lot of various watersheds. So a lot of exciting stuff happening. A lot of work with our partners at DEC, which is exciting. On one of Brian's comments, yes, we are hoping to work on a backfill for my position, fingers crossed. But in the meantime, that doesn't mean if anybody has any data management needs or requests, please always feel free to reach out and always send a reminder. If I forget, there are lots of emails in there, so I don't want to leave that important work behind. I want to make sure districts have what they need if there's any districts on the line that need something. So yeah, otherwise I think that's it for me.
Thank you very much, Tyler. All right, so I'm going to go through the advisory members who are on the line. CCE, Dan, do you have a report for today?
I don't really have a report, but if there's a way I can be helpful in some of the workforce development conversations, connecting you with folks at Cornell or through 4-H, please keep me in mind for that.
Thank you, Dan. Cornell Kales. Okay. DEC?
Not too much. Hey, this is Tony. Not too much other than to thank Elizabeth Walters for covering the Chesapeake Bay Executive Council meeting in December. We kind of struggled with a lot of conflicts, and it's really great to have ag represented in the Chesapeake Bay for New York. Excited for that opportunity for her. So thank you.
Thank you, Tony. How about Department of Health?
No updates here. Thanks so much.
I also do not have any updates at this time.
Thank you both. How about Department of State?
No updates here. Just, we're looking forward to another round of Ag non-point source and CRF reviews. Looking to help out wherever we can. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Christine Georgikakos from SUNY ESF had to hop off. She did leave a message in the chat. Just thanks for all the updates. Congratulations to Dale. And she's excited to continue the ag engineering conversation. NRCS. Chris, if you're still with us.
Yep, I'm here. Let's see, updates. Well,
I guess the biggest one is that we are back at work. You know, we were closed for 40 some days. But our systems are creaking back to life. The result of that shutdown was we did get funding for the rest of the fiscal year, so through September 30th. They also extended the Farm Bill for another year. And that is coupled with earlier in the summer, they had authorized or reauthorized some of our standard Farm Bill programs like EQIP, CSP through 2031. So, you know, that money takes a while to trickle down to us, but, you know, hopefully we shouldn't have any hiccups between, you know, at least now and the end of September, you know, where our funding has been secured. There was also a clause in the bill that USDA can't close any NRCS or rural development field offices without explicit approval of both chambers of Congress. So it's good news for our field offices. I guess I should address staffing. We've lost a number of people, a few dozen around the state over the last year, and we don't know when we'll be able to hire again. It could be a while, but I'm not sure. So we're getting the money, but we don't have as many people as we used to you know, to work on stuff. So things might take a little longer than they used to, but yeah, good to see anybody. You know, I'll put my email in the chat if you know, if anybody wants to talk more or, you know, have some partnerships to work on or something. You know, feel free to reach out to me. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate it. All right, so we'll move on and do the remaining staff who are joining us virtually. Travis, do you have an update for today?
Everything's pretty much just like PJ said, working on making my way to different board meetings. Been working on starting some closeouts with grants and AEM 18. Been helping Chaz review some AEM strategies, providing comments. But other than that, just still working on getting myself out there and getting to know my districts. So that's pretty much about it.
Thank you very much, Travis. Chastity, any report for today?
Thank you so much. And Dale, thank you so much for your dedication and all the years. It's been an absolute pleasure having you with us. So we're very excited for you. So AEM round 19, we have 57 districts that are going to be participating in that round. It's a 3-year contract. Happy to report that 52 of the contracts are officially executed. We have a few that we're waiting on finishing executing and a couple that are still out there getting signed. So very excited that it's unprecedented. We have all the contracts just about in place before it even starts. So a huge thank you to everybody who has worked on those and the legal team that has been processing contracts. They've been doing a great job on that. So round 18, which is what we're in right now, and you've heard a few of us talk about it already. Districts are working on finishing up their projects, getting paperwork together, and trying to continue to get all of their funding spent by the end of this year. We're beginning to do some pre-closeouts for a few of the implementation projects, and actually even have a contract that has come in that finished technical assistance on it. So things are going really well there. If districts, speaking to you guys really quick, if you need to do some claim for payments, get those in very quickly for your 90% implementations and any interim reports for technical assistance. We also have the 2026 to 2030 AEM strategies due at the end of this year. We have 10 districts who have submitted those so far. As Travis mentioned, he's been working with his districts on reviewing them and helping them move forward. Again, get those in by the end of this year. 12/31/2025 are the due dates on that. We've also been working on the nearshore aquaculture program, which we're starting to get together with some of our southern Long Island counties. We're hoping to have you guys a tier 1 and a tier 2 to take a look at and approve at the next meeting. So that's going along very well. We're pretty excited. It's a great team of districts and staff working on that, and it's super positive. So I think we've come a long way very quickly. We're also working on urban ag and identifying a specific system for that or a program for that so that we can, it kind of works now in some of the existing systems in our ag BMP catalog, but this will give us an opportunity to have some more specific projects and identifiers there for them. As you approved a few meetings ago, our post-planting tree stewardship program is going along. We have that policy in place and we've been working on SWs to help districts figure out how to use that. I've been fielding a few questions from districts on trying to start implementing that, and we'll be doing a presentation here soon at the beginning of December for the buffer program. So that's been pretty busy for us, along with water quality symposium planning. We have classes identified and we're just beginning to start to put all that together and get those classes organized with case studies and districts highlighting some pretty cool projects they've been working on for the tier 4 implementation money. So just a quick reminder to the districts again, because they're going to read the minutes, get your strategies in and your claim for payments. I just wanted to get on my soapbox for a quick second there. So again, thank you for everybody's support and all the work that we do. We are a great team and it's a lot of fun. So we appreciate that. So any questions for me? I know that was a lot really quick.
Hey Chaz, I recently attended a community garden task force meeting that the department convenes and was able to report out on the urban agriculture AEM updates. And I think it'd be great, you and I should talk a little bit about maybe presenting to that group when we're a little further along on that work.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you,
you.
Chaz. Brendan.
Yeah, so real quick, planning and QAQC is chugging along. As usual, we have a good mix of planners going for certification from both private party and district sources. And they kind of all came in around the same time. So we've got several on their second and third plans. So should be a new crop coming out in the next few months. And then training wise, as Chaz mentioned, we're looking at the horizon for water quality symposium. But in the short term, at the beginning of December, the planning team will be taking part in the certified crop advisor conference. Gideon and myself will be leading a class on silage bag management, and there will be a course on the DEC wetlands regs like Greg mentioned, and we are also doing a course with the help of ProDairy and USDA to put on a site assessment tool course focused on the manure application risk assessment tool and the closed depression study and GIS layer that USDS has put out. So look forward to those. And I believe that's all I have. Thank you, Bethany.
Thank you, Brendan. And last but not least, Gideon, do you have a report today?
I think Chaz and Brendan covered it pretty well. Just staying busy reviewing the CNMPs that are submitted for the certification process, and looking forward to the CCA conference in a couple weeks here. So, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So just give a few seconds if any district on the line would like to come off of mute and share a report. Please go ahead and do so now. Hearing none, any members of the public? Okay, I think we have made it through that agenda item. Matt?
All right, well, the next item is the next meeting, which would be December 16th. Is there any problems or issues with the voting members on that?
I'll let you folks know. I'll be reaching out to you a little earlier than normal just to confirm where you're going to be attending. I have a scheduled leave from the 8th to the 15th, so I'll be back just the day before our meeting. So I'm going to need to get everything out a little bit earlier than I normally do. So just please be thinking about your availability and where you want to take that meeting, because I'll need to know that a little bit sooner than usual.
And Bethany, annual plans of work, right? That's the big topic for December, approval there.
Correct. So that is currently on the agenda. We will be seeking approval from the voting members on Soil and Water Conservation District annual plans of work for 2026. As Chaz mentioned, we will likely have a presentation of the AEM Tier 1 and Tier 2 for the nearshore aquaculture. I think those are the two big items. I'm working up another presentation idea, but that hasn't been finalized yet, so stay tuned.
All righty. Okay, I guess we are going to break briefly, and then some of us are lucky enough to be doing ethics training, so.
Yeah, so really quick for everybody else on the line, you are more than welcome to hang out and listen to the ethics training.
Why is everybody laughing?
Serious. You're more than welcome to hang out. Otherwise, feel free to hang up after we complete the ethics training. We will be adjourning. There's no other, business items. So just put that out there.
So happy to pass the reins off to the new ethics instructor today. I'm gonna leave.
All right. Well, if you are leaving, thank you all for your time today, and we'll see you soon.
All righty.
Great.
Happy
We'll be
holidays.
back in 15 minutes.
Okay.
Great to see you, Dale. Thank you, everyone.
Resume.
That's March 24 edition. Did we
Oh.
do this last year?
Okay, so this training module is developed by the New York State Ethics Commission, and as unpaid or per diem officers of a state board, you are all required to participate in an annual ethics training. Sometimes trainings, you are able to take the trainings online. There are some years where an in-person training is also required, or is required, but I think given our discussion a couple months ago, we'll just plan to kind of have this standard on the agenda, maybe every November, just to keep things easier so you guys don't have to worry about signing up for those online ethics trainings and trying to find time. in addition to whatever else you got going on in your schedules to conduct the training. But this is a requirement that folks in your position have to do. Certain state employees are also required to take ethics training as well. Let me, for some reason, this isn't advancing here. Okay, so this course, and it's probably for most of it, I'm going to kind of be reading from the script, so I'll try to interject little tidbits here and there. Keep it a little bit interesting anyway. But this course provides an overview of ethics laws and regulations that apply to those in state service, or as we just mentioned, those that are appointed to a state board. Our agency, requires that staff participate in ethics training, but we also try to follow, the same procedures for our voting members. Sometimes state agencies may adopt their own ethics policies that are more restrictive than those are covered in this course. I don't really believe that's the case for ag and markets. However, I just want to make note that our agency, the Department of Ag and Markets, does have an ethics officer. They are part of our counsel's office. So the department's ethics officer is Chris Cudbeck. So, throughout this presentation, if you have any questions about, specific questions that I'm unable to answer, I can pass those along to our agency's ethics officer for, more guidance. But this training is for educational purposes only and does not substitute any actual legal advice. All applicable ethics laws, regulations, advisory opinions, policies, guidance documents within the Commission's jurisdiction can be found at ethics.ny.gov. So let's take a look at why we are here today for our mandatory ethics training. So there's always a benefit to attending ethics training. I know it can be a little long and boring, but it is important to always have a good refresher of ethics and to keep those in mind as you're carrying out your duties as state committee voting members. This training ensures that new employees who might be transitioning into public service from a private sector understand the differences between regular business practices in the private sector and potential conflicts of interest as state employees. The same goes for new directors and directors that are serving on a state board. It's important to understand what potential conflicts might be out there as a appointed voting member to the state committee. The training also promotes trust with our most important stakeholder, which is the public that we serve. All employees or board members, regardless of rank, title, salary, or position, have an understanding of state ethics laws and will perform their jobs with integrity. So the objectives of this training session will be to cover awareness, which would be to educate both seasoned and new board members on ethics laws, regulations, and policies that they're obligated to follow. Prevention, we want to avoid both actual and apparent conflicts of interest between official duties and private interests. And compliance. So because regular ethics training is mandated by the executive law and promotes public trust, that's one of the reasons why we're here today. So executive law section 94 mandates that all state employees or individuals that are appointed to a state board, regardless of salary, rank, or title, to attend a live ethics training every 2 years. On that other year, you can take an online, on-demand course, or we can just continue with our live training every year. New hires are required to complete a live ethics training within 90 days of appointment or employment. Live ethics training provides participants with the opportunity to ask questions in real time and receive guidance on important issues. The ethics training classes are required to be live, which means giving participants an opportunity to ask questions in real time. The law also requires state employees to complete an online ethics refresher class in the years when you're not attending a live class. This course will provide an update on any changes in applicable laws, regulations, or policies. So that's kind of information we've already covered, but we reviewed it anyway. So let's take a brief look at the topics that we're going to be covering today. So the topics in this presentation are maintaining high ethical standards, conflicts of interest. We'll cover the Little Hatch Act for avoiding politics in the workplace, post-employment restrictions, it's important information for the future, financial disclosure statements, which I know you are all in love with, and we'll overview those filing requirements that apply to some of you or apply to you. And we'll give a commission overview, which will include a brief summary of the changes to the new ethics commission. So all state officers and employees are responsible for maintaining high ethical standards in the conduct of their state service. Each of us is responsible for fostering a strong culture of ethics in New York State. The public holds us to high standards of accountability. It's not just elected officials who sometimes violate the public officers law. So we must stay alert to ethics violations in all areas of public service. Public service is a public trust. And so as state officers and as employees, we're expected to serve the public interest. And ethics violations can happen, at all levels of state government. So as I mentioned in one of our introductory slides, there are individuals within the state structure who can help with ethics questions or concerns. Department of Ag and Markets ethics officer is and should be the primary source of advice and guidance for questions about your obligations under both the ethics law and agency policies. Each state agency is empowered to establish ethics policies that are more restrictive than what is required by the public officers law material that will be covered in today's training. So your ethics officer is basically the best and first resource for further information. The responsibilities of an ethics officer include providing guidance on ethics laws and policies, conduct reviews and approvals for certain regulated activities. They can offer live ethics training, manage the agency financial disclosure statement filer list, and maintain ethics training records. One of the primary functions of the New York State Commission on Ethics and Lobbying is to offer advice and guidance to the regulated communities under its jurisdiction. There is an Attorney of the Day program that offers guidance on state ethics laws. The Commission also has a number of plain language guidance materials on the website as well, if you're interested in learning more. And that website is ethics.ny.gov. Our first topic applies to all state officers and employees, and that is conflicts of interest. So avoiding conflicts of interest lies at the heart of Public Officers Law, Section 74. It contains the Code of Ethics, the foundation of the state ethics law, which provides guidelines for making ethical choices while in state service. It's important to note that the Code of Ethics doesn't just address actual conflicts of interest, but also the appearance of such conflicts when acting in your official capacity. Being a public servant means that we are accountable to the public and must act in the public's best interest and not our own personal interest. It applies to everyone, including agencies, departments, divisions, boards, and commissions, including unpaid and per diem officers and members, officers of and employees of closely affiliated corporations like Youth Research Incorporated, the Research Foundation for Mental Hygiene, Health Research Incorporated, the Research Foundation of the State University of New York, and Welfare Research Incorporated. So let's start with the general rule of ethics. The general rule of ethics is that New York State officers and employees and members of the legislature and legislative employees shall not have any interest, financial or otherwise, direct or indirect, or engage in any business or transaction or professional activity or incur any obligation of any nature which is in substantial conflict with the proper discharge of his or her duties in the public interest. So that is Public Officers Law 72, number 2, the general rule. You may not engage in any behavior that would conflict with your duty to the public interest. This requires us to examine our activities in the context of substantial conflicts between the public duties and personal interests. Just as a note, a personal interest can be for the benefit of someone else, like friends or family, or even a preferred vendor. So taking a closer look at the Code of Ethics, the Code of Ethics helps you to identify and steer away from potential conflicts of interest when performing your duties. A conflict occurs when your own personal interests, such as family, friendships, financial interests, and other social factors may compromise your decisions, judgment, and actions in the workplace. The Code of Ethics will help you identify and address potential conflicts of interest and is designed to prevent you from putting your private interests above public responsibility. So the standards of conduct say standard A is regarding impartiality. Standards B and C cover disclosing confidential information. Standard D is all about securing privileges or favors based on your state job. Standards E and G cover financial conflicts. Standards F and H cover integrity standards, and standard I covers doing business with the state. So we're going to kind of review each one of the standards briefly. So the first standard, standard A, is impartiality. And this is our first standard, which focuses on the guiding principle of impartiality and independence of judgment when performing your state job. An example here is that you serve on a board that oversees a contract with a private sector vendor. As a representative of the state, you are responsible for making sure the vendor is adhering to your board's contract. The vendor offers you a part-time position on a completely different project that does not involve your board. Can you pursue this outside employment?
No.
Doesn't really give an answer, but I think if there's a perceived conflict of interest, we need to keep it separate. So the next standard, standards B and C, are all about confidentiality. They really focus on the guiding principle of confidentiality and knowing what you can and cannot disclose with respect to your state job. This varies by agency, so it's important for you to know what's considered confidential in your job or other position. So this following, I think, the example of, Standard B, you cannot accept employment or engage in any business or professional activity which will require you to disclose confidential information that you have gained as a result of your state position. And then Standard C, you cannot disclose confidential information you have gained as a result of your state position to benefit either yourself or someone else. So let's look at the next standard. Unwarranted privileges. So you cannot use your official position to obtain privileges or exemptions for yourself, including using state resources for your private business or other paid non-governmental purposes. Standard D is also referred to as misuse of position or resources and prevents you from securing those unwarranted privileges. An example as shown on the slide, you are a member of the Empire State Plaza Performing Arts Center, which recently hired a contractor to install new carpeting in the lobby. The contractor offered a personal discount for home carpet installation to thank the board members for the contract. So in this case, this is an example of obtaining an improper privilege based on your state position. Another example, you are a member of the State Board of Elections. Professionally, you also have your own desktop publishing business. You may not use state resources for your own side business, even if you do it after hours. And even if you bring your own paper and ink, you would still be using state equipment and state and office space to further your own personal business interests. So moving on to the next standard, or the next couple of standards. So Standard E focuses on your financial conflicts of interest and making sure your private financial interests don't conflict with your public service. So you cannot participate in a transaction as a representative of the state with a business entity in which you have a direct or indirect financial interest that conflicts with the proper discharge of your official duties. An example here is you serve on a member of the Council on the Arts, which considers grants to arts organizations. You may not participate in a vote to offer a grant for a performing arts venue where your spouse works. So I think we follow kind of a similar guidance with how voting members participate in the votes on our RFPs or even on our ranked list, particularly if you're a farmer and you're interested in participating, or even if like your family member is interested in applying and participating, our voting members will typically recuse right from the get-go, so and are not do not participate in any discussions regarding the program development, for that reason. Standard G focuses on your personal investments and making sure they don't conflict with your public service. So, which means you must abstain from making personal investments in enterprises that you have reason to believe may be directly involved in workplace decisions you may make, which would create a substantial conflict between your duty in the public interest and your private interest. An example for Standard G is you serve as a commissioner on the Gaming Commission. You're also part owner of a local craft brewery that is seeking a contract to provide their product to a restaurant that is located within a casino. In this case, you must recuse yourself from commission business involving this casino and recuse yourself from decisions regarding this contract by the brewery to remedy this conflict of interest. It's only by stepping aside from involvement on both sides of this business transaction that the conflict can be remedied. Which is a good time to talk about recusals. So recusal, if you don't already know, means to remove yourself or to remove oneself from participation, including discussions, deliberations, and votes to avoid a conflict of interest. Even the appearance of a conflict of interest might be enough to trigger the need for you to recuse yourself. There are times, however, when recusal is not enough of a remedy. If you feel like you have one of those particular situations, or if we are ever unsure, whether or not you need to recuse from items that are being discussed, particularly by the State Soil and Water Conservation Committee, I'm happy to consult with our agency's ethics officer, or could even reach out to the commission's attorney of the day for additional guidance. So let's take a look at an example. So in this example, advisory opinion 03-09 addresses recusals for board members and provides a good example of why that might be necessary. So in this particular example, a county soil and water conservation districts seek grant funding from a state committee on soil and water. In this opinion, the commission required a voting member of the state committee to disclose that he was also a district board member and to recuse himself from any vote involving a grant application from a district on whose board he served. In the opinion, the commission recognized that the committee's enabling legislation contemplated voting members being individuals with expertise and interest in county conservation issues. The commission also noted, however, that a member's judgment could be affected if he were called on to vote on a grant application in which he has a direct interest. So moreover, the public might well perceive favoritism in such circumstances, even if none actually existed. So I think going back to the, example that I gave before, that's why, if we have particular voting members who are interested in applying, we ask them to recuse themselves right from the beginning to avoid any appearance of a conflict of interest.
So Bethany, can I have a question?
Please.
Since I am a board member in Monroe County, does that mean that anything about Monroe County that comes up, I cannot vote on?
That is not how we have handled it in the past. So like when we ask voting members to review the RFP, unless you yourself or someone like a family member is interested in applying, even though the district is eligible to apply, you can, as a voting member, can still vote on that RFP. Same goes for the proposal rating sheet. Even if the district submits an application, because you guys weren't directly involved in the scoring of the applications, you're just approving the ranked list. We don't ask, or we don't need you guys to recuse in that situation. Where we do ask voting members to abstain from voting is when there's an amendment. So if Monroe County had a contract and they needed to get a time extension, for example, because you are a director of Monroe County, you would need to abstain from that vote. We wouldn't ask you to recuse in that situation. If, and as we've seen this with both Matt and Scott's farms, they've both been involved in our programs. If there's an amendment that's brought up for a contract that their farm is involved in, we ask them to recuse from that discussion.
Okay. So recuse, you basically leave the room, or is
Correct.
that the difference? Okay.
Yeah, and so,
Okay.
yeah, so we do ask, it's always a weird thing, but we do ask them to leave the room, for that portion of the meeting and then come back.
Okay, thank you.
And even if, like when we're discussing or voting on an RFP going forward, like the next round, if I'm thinking of, submitting a proposal through the Soil and Water Conservation District for a project, then I have to, recuse myself from that discussion of that RFP. Is that not correct, Bethany?
Yeah, that is correct. And the reason for that is, we don't want there to be an appearance that as a voting member, you had a inside knowledge of what was going to be in the RFP, essentially, or to have an influence on that vote. So as voting members who may also be interested in participating in our programs, you guys have to have a little bit of foresight to kind of think into the future and think, yeah, I might want to apply for this round, and make sure that you're letting me know as we are, when you see that I've put the RFP discussion on the agenda, let me know ahead of time so we can make sure to properly, recuse you from that discussion, just to eliminate any appearance of conflict of interest.
Okay.
And then, if you didn't, and, decided, okay, I'm not going to apply to this round, then you'd be able to participate, going forward. So. All right, so the slide we're on, recusal, things to consider. So what if my recusal does not permit my board or commission to reach a quorum? Whether recusals pose an operational problem is not for the commission to determine. The commission has previously held that the determination of whether and when recusals reach an unacceptable level is for the state agency to make. So that right there on the screen is also another good reason, in terms of our programs, to let me know as far ahead in advance as you can, whether or not you may need to recuse, because I need to make sure that, we're going to have a quorum. And if we don't, then I need to figure out what we're going to do about that. So just something to keep in mind. Recusals can have an impact on operational functions, but it's up to each agency to balance those operational needs by deciding when and under what circumstances recusals are necessary to remedy a potential conflict of interest. The risk in not recusing in order to maintain quorum may mean the board members are subjecting themselves to potential violations of Public Officers Law 74. So,
Bethany, another question.
Yep.
We have such a small board as far as voting.
Mhm.
What is a quorum for us?
3.
3. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yep. And to my knowledge, I don't think we've ever had to, we haven't run into, we've come close, but I don't think we've ever really run into a situation where, we can't vote on something because too many people have to recuse. So let's hope we can keep it like that moving forward. All right, contracting goods and services. You or any entity are a member of, or any corporation that you own substantial stock in cannot sell goods or services to entities that are licensed or regulated by your agency. You may also be prohibited from holding an outside job with any such licensed or regulated entity. So this is standard I. And it just says that your private business interests may not intersect with entities that are licensed or regulated by your state agency. So the example they have on the screen here, you are a member of the Hospital Review and Planning Council of the Department of Health. Acme Hospital is regulated by your agency. You or business entities you are affiliated with are prohibited from selling goods or services to Acme Hospital. And again, if you think there might be a conflict, the safest option is always to ask the question, and hopefully our ethics officer can get it addressed, or we could submit it directly to the Commission on Ethics. So the last two standards lie at the heart of our code of ethics, and these are the integrity standards. So standard F and H are sometimes referred to as the integrity standards, and they set the public optics test for professional behavior. The two standards do not carry a monetary or civil penalty. However, the Commission is now empowered to recommend and refer for agency discipline, including suspension and termination of any violation of the Civil Service Law 107 and the Public Officers Law, including Public Officers Law 74, Section F and H. So specifically, Standard F really focuses more on professional behavior. And it says that you must avoid situations that may create an appearance that you could be improperly influenced in the performance of your state duties. If it looks like you could be improperly influenced, that's enough to violate the standard. Standard H, again, features on the public optics test. So specifically, you should always conduct yourself in such a way that it will not appear to a member of the public that you are involved in any form of misconduct and are violating the public's trust. So essentially, don't act in ways that give the appearance of misconduct. If it might look suspicious, don't do it. Our professional conduct directly contributes to the integrity of state service. This affects former state sector employees who are newly entering state service, or in our case here, who are entering a appointed position on a state board. You may be required to recuse yourself from matters directly involving your former private sector employer for a cooling off period of 2 years from when you left your private sector employment. Its purpose is to prevent you from giving preferential treatment to or be unduly influenced by your former private sector employer. So if the agency's ethics officer or the commission determines that your recusal isn't appropriate, it runs for 2 years from the date that you determined that you terminated employment with a private employer. The agency has broad discretion to authorize the employee's participation if the circumstances show that the interests of the government outweigh the concern that a reasonable person may question the integrity of the agency's program. All right, so ethics check. A state employee used an agency computer to install and run software to help a relative and used official agency letterhead and his state email address in a letter requesting payment for the services. How did he violate public officers' law? There are many different answers to this question.
Using state equipment.
That's correct. Anything else?
Well, the letterhead in his email.
Yep. All right, yes. So that's the big one. Misuse of state resources, such as the computer, the email, the letterhead, and request, he requested payment, which implies an official capacity. So this violated Public Officers Law 74, which provides that no officer of employee should use or attempt to use his official position to secure unwarranted privileges or exemptions for himself or others. The employee settled, in this particular real-life example, the employee settled the action by paying a $1,000 fine. So our personal activities are also an area where we might consider potential conflicts of interest. And this brings us to our discussion on the Little Hatch Act. So the Little Hatch Act addresses a political activity in state service and puts rules in place about what can and cannot be done at work. It's modeled on the Federal Hatch Act, which also seeks to prevent political activity in the workplace. Political activity is restricted by Public Officers Law 73, 74, and Civil Service Law 107. So we'll take a look at what is prohibited. So these are the restrictions for policymakers. And policymakers, this includes unpaid or per diem board members. You must remain nonpartisan by not serving as by not serving as officer in a political party or organization or a member of a political party committee. So the agency you represent may have additional policies on conflicts of interest and outside activities. Boards, councils, public authorities, commissions, and public benefit corporations whose members, directors, or officers are subject to 73-A of the Public Officers Law and are not subject to Section 73 of the law by virtue of their uncompensated or per diem compensation status. They shall adopt a code of ethical conduct covering conflicts of interest and business and professional activities, including outside activities. So according to regulations, the entity you serve on should have an additional code of ethics that addresses conflicts of interest and outside activities. Please consult with your agency ethics officer or general counsel for additional information on policies that may apply to you. The Little Hatch Act describes additional restrictions on political activity in the workplace. So according to Civil Service Law 107, those in state service must avoid all political activity in the workplace. The term political activity means doing something in active support of or opposition to a political party, political issue, a candidate for partisan political office, or a partisan political group. Public Officers Law 74 also restricts our public activities in the workplace. Oops. Hang on. I think this is just more on this, but you cannot ask questions about a job candidate's political affiliation, contributions, or voting history. You may not be questioned about your political affiliation as a condition of employment. You cannot use state position or your state position to coerce, intimidate, or influence employees for any political purpose. You cannot dishonestly use your official authority in exchange for political action on someone else's part. And state offices may not be used to solicit or collect political contributions. Okay, so here are some real work examples that have been found to be in violation of Public Officers Law 74. Circulating a candidate's nominating petition within the office. That is a violation. No nominating petitions in the office outside the workplace on personal time is allowed. Using an office computer after work to produce a campaign brochure. That is also a violation. You can't use state resources to produce any political materials. Sending email invitations to campaign events to friends within the agency. You can't use state email for political communications, even to friends you know support your candidate. Using New York State internet connections to forward email messages received from a partisan campaign or candidate. If you receive a political communication to your work email address in error, delete it and contact the candidate to give them your personal email address. Even forwarding the political email to your personal address is a violation because you have used the state's internet connection to distribute political materials. This particular slide is most applicable, obviously, to folks who are actually employed and work within, state offices. But, something just to be mindful of as you're out and about representing, if you are, out and about representing the state committee, just be mindful of some of these things. Let's see. Another important part of the law includes not using your public service to personally enrich yourself after you leave employment with the state. So again, maybe this next slide might not be super applicable, or next couple of slides might not be super applicable to you folks as voting members, but we'll cover them anyway. So we're going to be looking at other applications of the Public Officers Law 74, which includes the reverse 2-year bar and negotiation of future employment. So specifically, the reverse 2-year bar, this affects former private sector employees who are entering state service. So you may be required to recuse yourself from matters directly involving your former and current private business relationships. The goal is to prevent you from influencing a decision or action by your former agency or gaining non-public information from your former agency. Whether a conflict of interest results from a board member's private sector connections must be determined on a case-by-case basis. However, certain factors are considered in reaching such a determination. So you may be required to recuse yourself for a cooling off period. And in the cases where you are currently employed, you should always recuse yourself from matters involving your current employer. Again, more information can be found on the advisory opinions 98-09 and 07-04. So there are, a number of factors that would be considered to determine if recusal would be needed. And these are all covered here on the slide. Recusal considerations. The requesting party was a member of a state board responsible for acting on funding applications for 2 major programs. So in this particular case, the requesting party asked, may a board member who had left a private employer 1.5 years ago consider a grant proposal submitted by that former employer? If the board member ended representation of a client 6 months ago and does not currently conduct business with the client, is there a conflict if the board member acts on the former client's proposal? And these are, this questions from an advisory opinion that came from an actual board member regarding the boundaries of his service. So the commission concluded that the board member would violate Public Officers Law 74 were he to vote on an application for a grant of money in the situations described. The board member's vote could raise suspicion among the public that the action constituted inappropriate behavior in violation of his or her trust. Reviewing the bullets, whether the board member was in an employment relationship with the applicant, which implies daily oversight and control, or was in a consulting relationship which suggests a more temporary connection, whether the board member was an officer or senior official of the applicant, whether the board member or the applicant had a fiduciary relationship with the other, whether the applicant is the actual former employer or business entity with which the board member had the relationship, or whether it is related, subsidiary, or umbrella organization, and for how long the relationship existed. As you can see, there are quite a few situations that might impact this decision, so it's important to seek guidance if you find yourself in a circumstance where a potential conflict of interest might exist. So another application of Public Officers Law 74 is the negotiation of future employment and involves restrictions that apply to both solicited and unsolicited job offers. So as a state officer, there are restrictions on if and when you may negotiate future employment with an entity or individual that has a specific matter pending before you. If you receive an unsolicited job offer, or if you are interested in soliciting an employment opportunity, you may only pursue an employment opportunity after fully recusing yourself from the matter. Essentially, if you want to pursue a job with an individual or entity that has a matter pending before you, just make sure you're recusing yourself from that matter and notify your ethics officer. So now we're gonna move into a brief overview of key aspects of financial disclosure statements and key aspects of this requirement and who it applies to. So who is required to file? Officers, directors, members, and employees of any state agency, board, commission, council, public authority, public benefit corporation, or legislative employees who are policymakers, threshold filers, statewide elected officials and legislators, and political party chairpersons are all required to submit financial disclosure statements each year. Approximately 30,000 state officers and employees are designated as FDS filers. And they are all from the groups that I reviewed previously. So policymakers, they are designated by the agency, which also include our unpaid or per diem members of the boards. If you feel like your designation as a policymaker is incorrect, this is an issue you must address with your agency ethics officer. A threshold filer is an employee who exceeds an income threshold, and those are established. The example they provided here, if an individual is making more than a CSCA salary grade 24, which is a little over $105,000 as of April 1, 2022, they would be required to submit a financial disclosure statement. I think the last two bullets are fairly self-explanatory. So why do some employees have to file these financial disclosure statements? So the financial disclosure statement is a publicly available record containing financial and professional information about the FDS filer and the FDS filer's spouse or domestic partner. It's important to note that reporting for domestic partners is a change to the filing requirement from the 2022 legislation. So even though in your specific cases, even though you serve on a volunteer basis, it is important that your service does not create any conflicts of interest between your private sector employment or investments and your service to the state. The public has a right to know that your service does not personally enrich yourself or others. So the purpose So some things to consider in financial disclosure, private sector individuals serving on boards may have more complicated financial circumstances to report than many state employees. If you're uncertain about how to respond to any questions on your annual financial disclosure statement, please make sure you're contacting a commission filing specialist. The purpose of the FDS is to make sure we're providing transparency for those in public service and to prevent conflicts of interest between a person's public duties and private financial interests and affiliations. So what kinds of things need to be disclosed? Basically, all the many ways we obligate ourselves financially. Since the purpose of the FDS is transparency, in order to avoid conflicts of interest, the form asks for many details regarding your finances. The FDS provides transparency regarding how your connections with the private sector may create conflicts of interest with your public service. The statement asks you about offices or any positions of authority held in a business entity or organization, political party or political organization, ownership or professional affiliation with any business entity, ownership and income from financial interests, investments, securities, real property, and other assets. Asks you about debts, liens, mortgages, and other financial obligations, as well as certain gifts, honoraria, and other payments. This is not an exhaustive list of the disclosed information, so be aware of that. So when you have to file, moving on to that, depends on your particular filing status. So I believe for most of us, all of you and myself included, the filing deadline is May 15th of each year. Statewide elected officials, state officers, political party chairs, policymakers, and state employees with an annual salary or that meet that threshold are required to file by May 15th each year. This is the deadline, but there is an opportunity to, if you need to file an extension, you have to also do that by May 15th. So let me say that again a little bit more clear. The deadline to submit the financial disclosure statement is May 15th. You also, if you need an extension, need to file that request by May 15th as well. When you first become a financial disclosure statement filer, you have 30 days to file for the previous year. Because FDSs or financial disclosure statements are public documents, this sometimes raises privacy concerns. And although the FDSs are considered a public document, only the FDS or only the disclosure statement of elected officials are posted online. All others are only accessible by special request. So if requested, the commission automatically redacts the name of any minor child from the copy of the FDS that is made publicly available. Home addresses for paper filers are requested by the commission for identification purposes only and are redacted from public inspection or are redacted from the document that's provided to the public. For FDS questions related to real property, you may disclose the general location of any investment property you or your spouse may own, including the street name and locality. You do not have to identify the house or apartment number. So there are other means to keep your personal information private. An FDS filer can make a request to redact specific information from the FDS copy that's made publicly available. You can seek an exemption for some questions regarding a spouse or domestic partner or minor child. You can also get an extension for filing on the basis of justifiable cause or undue hardship. That request must be made by the filing deadline. Threshold filers can request an exemption, but policymakers may not. These requests are granted under limited circumstances, so be aware of that as well. The FDS is an important legal obligation, and there are consequences if you don't file.
So Bethany, I have a question.
Yeah, go
Since,
ahead.
since I'm new and just did a financial disclosure, I have to file another one before that May 15th?
You will have to, I think, file one for May 15th. If you haven't been notified, if you haven't received like a notification from the Ethics Commission to submit a new one, I think you're okay. I can double check on that for you.
Okay, I'm just curious,
but
but you're
I-
saying
I
though
think
that they would
Yeah.
let me know.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think the
they,
notifications come out after the first of the year, it seems like. That seems like
Okay.
that's when I get mine.
Okay, thank you.
and in your specific case, because you were appointed later in the year, they may have just, I don't know, they may have
Yeah.
just decided to wait until, so then you'll be required to submit May 15th. Because I believe, actually in Megan's case, in Megan Hauser's case, she actually had to submit again. So it was like you submitted all that information, with your appointment paperwork, but then as soon as she had to do it again. So
Okay,
I'll double check on that for you just to make sure, but if you haven't been notified by the commission directly, I think you're probably okay.
yeah, that's probably my bigger concern is who's gonna tell me when I have to, and as long as
Yeah.
they were gonna contact me, I'm fine.
They do, and I do believe they contact you if you're late as well. Which,
Of course
gets
they
us
do.
into this next question or this next
Yeah.
slide, so.
That was fine.
So if you fail to file your FDS, or if you file a deficient FDS by either not answering a question or failing to respond to a question with required specificity, the commission will notify you. Once notified, you have 15 days to comply or to correct your filing. If you fail to respond, the commission will send you and your appointing authority a notice of delinquency that advises you of fees and penalties. Notices of delinquency are made available for public inspection and are kept in the filer's personal file. Notices are also posted on the commission website. So if you fail to remedy your filing, you may be subject to a civil penalty and possible criminal referral. Again, if you have any questions or difficulties filing your FDS before the deadline, please make sure you're contacting the commission help desk for assistance. It is a really important requirement and can be a tedious activity. I also am required to submit one, but I will just say as a tip, if you are able to file online rather than to go through actually filling out the hard copy papers, it does make things a little bit more efficient. Because once you do it once online, you can, the next year, you can go back and I think there's an option to repopulate your responses from the year before, and then you can just update a few things.
Okay,
So
great.
it does make it a little bit more efficient once you at least go through the first initial online filing process.
Great.
All right, time for another ethics check. So, an agency board member failed to include income from a personal business on his annual financial disclosure statement. He also used a state-issued computer and email to conduct his side business. How did he violate public officers law? Any thoughts?
Status, computer and email.
What was that?
Use the state issued computer and email.
And he didn't say his personal business, didn't state
Very
that.
Very good, yes. So he failed to fully answer the questions on the FDS, and he also used state resources to conduct his private business matters. Perfect. Finally, we are going to wrap up this course by briefly discussing the commission, its functions, and where to get guidance. So we're nearing the end. Thank you for hanging in there. Let's start the brief overview of the State Ethics Commission. The commission was established by the Ethics Commission Reform Act of 2022 to oversee and regulate ethics and lobbying in New York State and began operation on July 8th, 2022. It has broad jurisdiction over all state officers and employees, statewide elected officials, members of the legislature, and certain political party chairs. The commission also has jurisdiction over lobbying activities in the state. 11 members with appointees from the governor's office and the state legislator, with new appointments from the office of the state comptroller and the office of the attorney general. An independent review committee. So there's also an independent review committee comprised of law school deans. Will confirm commission nominees for each appointing authority. The commission's power to act is by simple majority vote, and the commission is subject to FOIL and the open meetings law. So this new legislation made many changes to the structure of the Ethics Commission. Although the commission and its predecessor agencies have often been described as a watchdog agency, investigation and enforcement is only one of the core functions. The commission also serves an important advisory function for the regulated community. Key functions of the commission are oversight of ethics and lobbying regulations, guidance and education, and investigations and enforcement. So today's class fulfills the mandate to provide ethics education to state employees or boards. My printer got a little wonky on me, so I got to flip this around here to read my notes. So we mentioned a little bit earlier in the presentation, there is an Attorney of the Day program. So one of the primary functions of the commission is to offer advice and guidance to the regulated communities under its jurisdiction. The Attorney of the Day program offers guidance on state ethics laws. The commission also has a number of plain language guidance materials on the website, which is ethics.ny.gov. You can see also on the screen, there's some contact information there, 1-800 number, as well as a general email address that you can use as well. So if you call the commission attorneys, you'll be able to get a legal advisory opinion on your particular situation. So how is advice and guidance provided? There are two types of advisory opinions. Most of the time you receive an informal opinion that deals with a narrow, specific set of circumstances. They are confidential and issued by the commission's staff attorneys based on prior precedent. The commission provides confidential guidance by phone and by email. If your situation is unique, it may require a formal advisory opinion to address your circumstances. A formal advisory opinion is issued by the commissioners on matters of first impression. These opinions are public documents with identifying information redacted. Every formal advisory opinion is posted on the commission's website. These opinions set precedent for others in the future. As the saying goes, if you see something, say something. The commission accepts tips by phone, email, or by using the online report a tip form. You can also file a formal complaint anonymously if you prefer. Again, reporting misconduct is important to upholding the high ethical standards in the state. And, if you are interested in providing have any tips to provide, you can call the toll-free number or visit the website to report any misconduct in state service. And just know that you're not alone. Reach out for help when you have questions or concerns. They're there to help and there to help, address issues beforehand. Investigation and enforcement. While we hope you never find yourself in this situation, your rights are preserved under the investigatory process. Enforcement proceedings are confidential until there is a finding or settlement against the subject. Notice to the subject is not required in the early phases before the commission issues a 15-day letter that notifies you of an investigation. You will be given an opportunity to respond to those allegations. All investigatory and enforcement procedures are posted on the website under the Investigations tab. If it is determined that a violation has occurred, there are penalties that may be assessed. So those penalties are all described in those law references on screen. But violations to the Code of Ethics in Public Officers Law 74 may carry civil penalties of up to $10,000 plus the value of any gift, compensation, or benefit received as a result of the violation, except for standards F and H, which have no civil penalty. The commission is now, however, empowered to recommend and refer for agency discipline, including suspension and termination, any violation of the civil service law and the public officers law, including public officers law 74 F and H. Violations for financial disclosure provision in public officers law 73-A carries penalties of up to $40,000. Violations of civil service law 107 carries penalties up to $40,000 as well. And your agency is also empowered to impose its own penalties, including fines and termination of employment for employees who violate ethics law. The civil penalties can be substantial, so seek guidance from your ethics officer or the commission if you have any questions about these aspects of the public officers law. Your agency can impose consequences that are even more punitive than what the law allows. Your service in the public interest is valuable and help is available. So this is our last slide. One of the central missions of the commission is to provide guidance on matters of state ethics. The purpose of this training was to give you a greater awareness of your obligations under the ethics laws. But if you have any questions, please reach out. Information is on the slide. I can also provide that to you if you need it. Thank you for your participation today, and thank you for your service to the state of New York. All right. Phew, we made it through. I appreciate everybody hanging in there. I know it's kind of a long training, not super exciting, but now that we've got it all done, I'll make sure that we get that documented and reported. And I don't know, in the past, I don't know if you guys have gotten one, but I think you're supposed to get a certificate of completion. I don't know if we generate those or if that has to come actually from the commission, the ethics commission. But I'll check on that too. But in any case, now that we have this recorded, you are all set for the year, and we'll come back next November and do this all again.
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember getting a certificate, to be honest with you, but I might have.
I think I got one. From the
Yeah, I don't
county.
know.
Yeah, so,
I think it said, maybe I was reading the notes earlier, said somewhere that upon completion of the course, you should get a certificate, so I don't
yeah,
know who generates
might
that.
be, yeah, yeah. And Maureen, the one thing I found, just since you're new, is, I, from time to time, if I have a question concerning like our farm operation and the grants or other things that might be questionable, I've reached out to the attorney here, the ethics attorney here for, his thoughts on it. And so that's an easy way to get an answer if you have something.
So help is
sometimes,
always
so.
there.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
One way or
and that's-
another.
Yeah, that's probably the quickest and easiest, I find, so. Yeah,
I wrote the phone number down, just in case.
yeah.
I actually had
Well,
the
if you ever
attorney
need it.
contact me
Oh, really?
when I was after filling out the paperwork for this reappointment, because I included my wife in, just in case, because we're together on the farm. So just to cover the bases, and he just wanted a little clarification on my answers,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I had a contact about my husband as well, but it really wasn't anything big.
So I guess it's good to know someone's looking at them anyway, you're not just
Yeah.
filling it out for no
Yeah.
reason,
Yeah.
someone's actually looking and wondering, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well, I guess we can now, I think we're good to officially
Officially
adjourn.
adjourned. Okay, we will
Okay.
do. We'll see
Thank
you
you
all
all.
on the 16th.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, thank you
Yeah.
all, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Yep, same
Thanksgiving.
deal.
Yeah. Great.
Yep.
All right. Thank you,
All right.
Bethany. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.